What about a problem like this? A graph like this? So are there any local maxima? Yeah, there's actually two in this case. We have this point here at 1, 2, and we have this point here at 5, 3. If you look at the intervals immediately surrounding them, you can see that both of those points are higher than all other points on those intervals. So 1, 2, 2, and 5, 3 are local maxima. What about local minima? So we see this point here, 3, 1. But you see how this point is an open circle? That signifies that it's a hole and it's actually not defined there. So because this point is not defined, we can't call it a minimum value. So this is the only place in which all other points are greater than that value. So there is no local minimum. There's no local minimum. Do we have an absolute maximum? Well, we have two local maximums. Which of these two is higher? So you look at the y value, and we see that 5, 3 is higher on the graph than 1, 2. So 5, 3 is our absolute maximum. It's the highest point on our graph. And for similar reasoning to the local minima, there is no absolute minimum, because this point is a hole. So we can't define a minimum there. So there is no absolute minimum. Okay, so let's look at one more example. This one here. So local maxima. Are there any points in which all the immediately surrounding points are lower than it? Yes, here at 1, 4, right? If we look in that interval around it, we can see that this point is greater than all other points on this graph. So we have a local maxima here at 1, 4. Any local minima? We would originally think that the point 3, 2 would work, but again, this has a hole, so this means that there is no local minima. Right? There's no other point around this where it's lower than all of the surrounding points. What about an absolute maximum? Well, we know that 1, 4 is a local maximum, and we can see that our graph here is approaching some vertical asymptote and going off to positive infinity, right? Going off to positive infinity. So our maximum value actually is never going to be reached, so we cannot define a maximum, an absolute maximum. So there is none for an absolute maximum. And again, our absolute minimum doesn't exist because this point here that would be our minimum is a hole. So there's none here as well. So the only thing that this function, this graph has, is a local maxima at 1, 4. We have a local maximum there.